welcome to a special edition of Simply Bitcoin Live from the Pacific Bitcoin Festival. We are your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, code-breaking news, culture, matic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Obviously, we're not going to do memes or culture, even though Opti is here.
Yeah, I'm here. I didn't prepare the memes, guys, so forgive me.
It is my legendary co-host and brother, Optimus Fields. Please give him a round of applause. All right, today we got a very special show, a special edition of Simply Bitcoin Live from the Pacific Bitcoin Festival. We have two amazing Bitcoiners, and look, we say it in the beginning of every show, we'll be your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution. And for a revolution to happen, you need revolutionaries, right? And these two gentlemen are revolutionaries. In fact, anybody in this audience who's holding Bitcoin in self-custody, you are a revolutionary whether you know it or not. I always say it, to win, we need enough people taking custody of their Bitcoin. If enough people do that, we will win, and there's absolutely nothing they could do about it. And I think these two gentlemen are definitely contributing to the movement, and they're definitely a major reason as to why we're going to absolutely win this thing. So I want to introduce André Neves, the CTO and co-founder of ZEBEDEE.
Hello, hello. Hey, Nico, Optimus, how we doing? Good to be here.
Wonderful.
Happy to have you join us. And of course, we got Jason Maier, the author of A Progressive Case for Bitcoin.
Thank you.
So I've been saying this word a lot, right? Revolutionary, revolution. So I think my first question is going to be about that. First of all, let's start off with this for anyone who doesn't know. What is ZEBEDEE?
ZEBEDEE, well, it's many things, but it's also a few things. So ZEBEDEE is meant to revolutionize Bitcoin for the gaming.
Wait, hold on. Could you say that word again?
ZEBEDEE?
No, this word after that.
Revolutionize?
Yeah.
So we want to revolutionize. No, we're here to revolutionize Bitcoin and make it simple for developers, users, businesses, institutions. ZEBEDEE is both a B2B product where we provide APIs and infrastructure support. So if you're building a game, an app, or any experience using Bitcoin and using Lightning, you can come to us and we'll help you execute on all that. You get to focus on your products and you focus on that and you leave the hard work for running liquidity pools and et cetera with us. But also we have the ZEBEDEE app, which is how most people get involved with ZEBEDEE. And that's the best place to earn Bitcoin. We talk about Bitcoin being a risk-free asset. A lot of people have to buy Bitcoin. ZEBEDEE believes that people have to earn Bitcoin. When you earn Bitcoin, you're more easily able to send it, receive it, and participate in this economy. So yeah, zebedee.gg is our website, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about ZEBEDEE. Yeah.
Absolutely. Everybody,
Wait,
please
Nico,
give a round of
Nico,
applause. Oh,
before
Opti,
we go on,
jump in.
I have to say I absolutely love ZEBEDEE. I use it all the time in one of my vanity projects, and the chat to SAT feature that you guys have, we'll get into it later, but it's by far my favorite thing ever. It's troll on demand. It's the best thing ever. I think more Bitcoin podcasters should be using this, but we'll get into it in a little bit.
Hell yeah. Love it.
And of course, our second guest today, Jason Maier. Jason, you are known for A Progressive Case for Bitcoin. And from my experience on Bitcoin Twitter and interacting with Bitcoiners, I always say that Bitcoin is a bipartisan movement, right? It doesn't have, a certain political ideology attached to it, even though what I see usually is these libertarian hardcore maxis. So for Bitcoin to be inclusive, right? Because I always say it's not left versus right. It's not Democrat versus Republican. It's truly the party of orange, the party of freedom, peace, prosperity, optimism, versus the party of green, which is the party of central bank digital currencies, nihilism, slavery, poverty, all that good stuff. All that bad stuff, better said, right? So it is incredibly important for people like yourself to really give that other side, that other outlook, right? Because I always hear the libertarian outlook, but we don't have enough progressives really advocating for Bitcoin. So shout out to you, man, because that is a huge deal.
Thank you. Thank you. I've also noticed that on Bitcoin Twitter, there's a lot of libertarian energy, and it's hard not to notice, right? So I agree with exactly what you're saying, that the goal is for us to make Bitcoin not bipartisan, but nonpartisan, right? It's not a political tool. It is just a tool. And the problem is that for people to get into it and learn, they are still holding on to their categories, and they want to learn in a way that is comfortable to them. And the book that I wanted to read when I first started learning about Bitcoin didn't exist, so I locked myself in a windowless room and wrote it. And the hope is to get people on board, get people from 0 to 1 on Bitcoin in a way that is comfortable and resonates with them, and they don't feel attacked like they might if they go onto Twitter.
Absolutely. Opti.
Amazing.
Yeah, sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but me and Nico.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, no, I'm not laughing at the message. I'm laughing at how much negativity we get because we really do think that Bitcoin is the most inclusive money ever. And I do believe that Bitcoiners do themselves a disservice by, I don't know, pigeonholing themselves a lot and attacking everyone when it's like, look, the goal here is getting as many people as possible holding Bitcoin. Yeah, maybe you don't believe in the same ideas, but Bitcoin's permissionless. It doesn't matter what you believe. It's literally just money that everyone can opt into. And hey, you may not find value in their ideas, but we can all find common ground on the same money. And I think attacking each other over like, oh, you're left or right, I think it's pointless because we say it all the time. It's not left or right. It's orange versus green. And I even saw Elon Musk tweet this morning. He's like, it's not left versus right. It's extermination versus humanization or something like that. I'm like, yo, like Elon's saying the same thing we say every single day on the show. And we try to use narrative trench warfare in a way where, for lack of better terms, we like psyop people into believing what we believe. And it's like Bitcoin changes you. And if we use this framing where everyone can get involved with Bitcoin, then we're capturing more people, more value, more human capital into Bitcoin, and attacking each other over like, you know, stupid labels, I think sometimes is a disservice to the Bitcoin community.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, technology is amoral, right? Like what humans love to attach morality to stuff. It's like it's just tech, dude. It's like the internet. Why do you can do bad things with the internet, right? But yeah, there's a lot of tribalism sometimes that's unnecessary, and when you're trying to onboard folks that are not necessarily us in the room, right? Majority of our user base at ZEBEDEE is not in this room. They don't like the tribalism. They don't welcome that. That shies them away really quickly. So, yeah.
Yeah, and just to kind of focus on what you guys are saying, right? I truly believe that, you know, the whole left and right, you know, stuff that's going on, I truly believe it's a divide and conquer. Divide and conquer strategy, right? Because regardless of whatever political party's in power, the issue remains the same. There's a bureaucratic elite that have the ability to create money for free that everyone else has to work for, and that misaligns society's incentives, and that causes the society to be built on a broken base layer. And if the base layer of society is broken, it all kind of boils down. It's the root issue, and everything below that is corrupt. Look, it is not a coincidence. This is not a coincidence, right? That the first country that made Bitcoin legal tender, the elected politician is actually doing the things that he said he was going to do. That society, El Salvador, now has aligned incentives where the politician is incentivized to do good by his constituents because that's how he remains in power. So you have a politician that has an 80 to 90% approval rating. If you look at the West that spend a lot of time criticizing El Salvador, the people in power in the West, the politicians in power in the West, they're dealing with 40 to 50% approval ratings. So anyways.
Wait, hold on, Nico. What a novel thing for a politician to do right by their constituents. Absolutely mind-blowing.
100%. So instead of getting stuck in the sauce, lost in the sauce, so to speak, between the left and the right, it's truly, like, I would say, individualism versus collectivism. I think it boils down to that, and I think that, you know, you could put the conservative, liberal, you know, label aside. I truly believe that's a distraction. Anyways, going back to André. André, you were talking about gaming earlier, right? So how is ZEBEDEE planning to leverage Bitcoin to revolutionize the gaming industry?
We're not planning. We actively are. So
please tell us more.
Please tell us more.
So I wish we had the soundboard, Opti.
So
could you say it? There we go.
No, so we started in 2019. We're now 70 people strong, distributed around the world, and our mission is to make Bitcoin easy to use. And specifically, my co-founder Simon and I have discussed this at length, where Bitcoin is a financial tool, but it's a lot more than that. And what's the next industry that it's going to really tap into? And gaming always felt like the obvious choice. And so we got together, myself, Simon, and Chris. And Chris is the I want to say the grandfather of NFTs before they were called NFTs, because that was in 2014. So what we do is we make it trivial for game developers and app developers or any developer of any kind to integrate Bitcoin, whether it's rewards into your app, which is a simple engagement technique, but full-blown economies as well, right? So whether you're buying into a tournament, whether you're cashing out from winning an event, whether you're playing Counter-Strike and each bullet that hits you is Satoshis that are being sent to me immediately, right? So if you're familiar with the gaming industry, ever since microtransactions and in-app purchases came around, it's been notoriously hard to get any value from games. The only person that gets value from games are Apple and the game developer, right? So Apple takes 30% cut of every transaction, and the same thing happens in Epic Games or Google Play or all the providers, and the user doesn't see any value, right? So if you're familiar with Fortnite, for example, there's V-Bucks. You can buy V-Bucks with dollars. You can never sell V-Bucks. The value is only unidirectional. With Bitcoin, as it is with nation states, it's like the same money. So it doesn't matter if you're in a virtual world of a game of Call of Duty, Fortnite, or et cetera, or if you're right here at Pacific Bitcoin, the money is the same and it flows the same way and it's frictionless. So we empower people. We give people the tools they need to power those experiences with true global money. So regardless if you're in Japan playing games or in Brazil, you can now engage in actual value exchange anywhere, whether it's a virtual world or a real world. So we have hundreds of apps and games powered by ZEBEDEE now. These are game developers that have engaged with us and have used our infrastructure and technology. And there's millions of gamers out there earning sats in a risk-free way, right? They earn the Satoshi. They don't have to buy it. They don't have to get an exchange account to deposit money and get it. It's, you play a little bit and you get rewards. So it empowers them. It gives them the ability to, for example, in Brazil, folks have taken all their earnings and bought groceries, right? Some of them buy medicine, right? It's microtransactions at scale, but the impact is macro and it's global. So that's how we revolutionize gaming.
And I know Opti, he's had some fun.
Before we get to there, though, I think gaming and Bitcoin is it just makes so much sense to me. Yeah. And I love sci-fi movies, so I'm already thinking of Ready Player One worlds, and I'm just
yes.
Why aren't we there yet?
We need the suits.
Yeah, so why aren't we there yet? This seems just so easy. Okay, anyways, I love ZEBEDEE. I don't game. I stopped gaming when I was 15, 16. But I love ZEBEDEE for content creators. Look, we're on YouTube. And if you guys are familiar with YouTube, there's not very many ways to monetize on YouTube. You can do the Google ads, or what really is the moneymaker is using super chats. And if you have a huge fan base, you have a cult following, they will pay you a lot of money with super chats. But of course, YouTube has to take a cut of the super chats. And so you're not getting all the value through YouTube. And then of course, you kind of have to do some KYC stuff with YouTube, and you're kind of okay, especially for us, we're kind of skirting the line on YouTube. We're every other day we're wondering whether something we say is going to ruin our channel or not.
And then just to add to Opti's point, and that what the inevitable, what Opti is saying, it leads to a lot of self-censorship.
Yes.
There's in terms of the Overton window, there's only a certain acceptable speech.
Wait,
if you start
normies are here, Bitcoiners are here,
yeah.
The Overton window is in here, and it's that game of moving it around.
Yeah, correct. So I remember when the pandemic was happening, or when when this pandemic, all the the cultural war that's happening, all that stuff. A lot of those issues, you cannot talk about them. You cannot talk about them just because it's look, YouTube is the biggest platform. That's where we want to go, and that actually stops us from monetizing our content on YouTube. We have to rely on donations from our viewers. We have to rely on awesome Bitcoin companies that support our show, and that's how we keep on the lights, so to speak, right? So it's a crappy situation, but I think your guys' products.
No, not think. ZBD has the route around. Like, you guys have it already in play, but I don't see anyone using it. And I use it for one of my vanity projects called Bitcoin Kindergarten. Don't watch it. It's very bad.
It's very good.
It's comedy. It's not as serious. Anyway, we use it as like a troll box, and we have a small cult following, and they pay us sats, and we'll read anything on the show, and it's just part of the fun. And it blows my mind that
Happy birthday, Danny.
Forgive my language, but my little shitty podcast project is the only Bitcoin podcast that uses this feature where you can get paid directly from your fan base in sats, and the comment pops up. It even has a meme on there. By the way, we need more memes. We need to insert our own memes in there. That would be lit.
Feedback received, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you need to talk about this more. I think more Bitcoin content creators need to add this feature.
It's about empowerment, right? That's what we talk about. So ZEBEDEE, the name of the company, stands for ZEBEDEE Empowers Bitcoin-Enabled Digital Economy Engines. The whole point is empowerment. We give you the tools. So whether you're a content creator or a game developer or just a user that likes to play games and do surveys online, we give you the tools to do that yourself, and you keep 99% of that value. Like, you don't get 40% off Twitch, you don't get 30% off YouTube or Apple. I think empowering people with the technology is the important piece here.
How, do you guys censor? Like, what if you're pressured to censor certain content creators because of what they make?
So the way the ZBD streamer, which is the product he's talking about, works is you get a QR code and a super chat in the stream. So ZEBEDEE doesn't have visibility into your stream. Do you see what I mean? Like, we're not participating in that environment. We only know the transaction activity that's happening. So if there's fraudulent activity or if you're receiving hundreds of Bitcoin all of a sudden, I'm sure we have to have a chat, but it's not something, we don't have visibility into your stream per se. We're only a little plugin that you come in and empowers you to receive, and engage with your audience in Bitcoin.
There's no KYC.
No.
For a streamer, no.
No.
Go ahead.
What about do you see what the comments are?
No, so all of that is
perfect.
Yeah, all of that is on your side, right? That's kind of and we're I'm gonna butcher here, but I'm gonna say something that I'm not supposed to. But we're gonna integrate Nostr into that world,
Oh, perfect.
and so that will be even more of a situation where like ZEBEDEE's not even involved. We're just here to facilitate with the tooling and the Bitcoin capabilities.
Awesome. So we were talking about winning the war, winning the revolution, and tools like what André are developing and have developed, I think are integral parts to that. Jason, I want to pass it on to you. We got about 9 minutes left. Can you please give an elevator pitch to the audience about what the progressive case for Bitcoin is?
Yeah, thanks. So for those of you who know me, know that I've spent the last 2 decades teaching math at the high school level, which means I'm kind of like a dentist. Like, people need me, but they don't want to have anything to do with me. And you learn like a lot of lessons, right? Like, people, when they're faced with learning something complicated and difficult that they don't want to learn, need to feel comfortable, and they need to like be motivated and interested in learning. Otherwise, it just won't work, right? And so if Bitcoin's goal is to have like conferences like this for the next 10 years where everybody agrees with everything you're saying, then we've already won. We're fine. But if you want to expand to new people and get new interested people excited about Bitcoin, we have to have different kinds of messages out there. And I think we've been talking about this a lot, right? Like the race to beat the war and all of that stuff. That means people need to be able to learn Bitcoin in a way that they feel comfortable with. And so the way that I go about it is simply just think about the problems that exist in the world.
Hold on. Did you just say simply?
Simply Bitcoin. What's fascinating is that everybody along the political spectrum looks at the world and it's all fucked up, right? Like, nobody is happy with how things are going. So if you have somebody in front of you and you say, all right, well, what are the problems that you see in the world? Well, Bitcoin is a tool that can help with those things for the most part, right? So if you're a left-leaning, liberal, progressive person and you say, all right, well, I don't like what's happening with the environment right now, then like Bitcoin actually has answers for that. If you say, well, I don't really like what's happening with wealth inequality, then Bitcoin has answers for that. Like if you say look at like the developing world and like the massive detriment that people are put in all around the world because they cannot save and earn money that actually holds its value, Bitcoin has answers for that. And more than anything else, like it has a new lens to look at those problems. I can talk to a progressive person about like some of the things that they care deeply about, and they think that they know like the whole story about why those problems exist and what the solution has to be, and they're truly convicted and they have a good heart about it and they want to make the world a better place. But when I put like an orange lens on it and say, hey, let's look at this problem through Bitcoin, it opens people's eyes. It's a different kind of conversation. And it gets them, hopefully in like the ideal and in like a small number of cases, it gets them really excited. And then otherwise, it's just sort of like planting the seed and being available and being like a compassionate person who wants to educate when they come back to you. And I think that, the bottom line is what we've been talking about is true. Like Bitcoin transcends these categories and these labels, but people are in it right now, right? Like I've heard many times during this 3 days that I've been in LA, like it's so great to be around Bitcoiners. When I go home, like nobody talks to me about Bitcoin, and like it's kind of a weird thing. Like I'm trying to make it less weird, and the people on Twitter aren't helping, but it will, like
they don't help.
Right. Well, and what I want is to just have a resource out there, right? So a progressive's case for Bitcoin is a resource that you can hand somebody that you love and say, hey, I love you and I want you to learn about Bitcoin. And I think that this resource will speak to you in a different way than like a certain podcast or another book. It's just one tool of many to help get people from 0 to 1 and interested and motivated to learn more about really like a freedom technology that everybody should be supporting, right?
100%. Opti?
Yeah, I think all Bitcoiners, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, can all agree. Again, it's not left or right, it's orange versus green. And one thing that Nico and I talk about all the time on Simply Bitcoin is the idea that, again, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, and everyone is entrenched right now. I've only really been politically involved recently because of the show that we do, and we have to constantly cover politics because it is encroaching on Bitcoin. And it's becoming very clear to me. I think we are more entrenched than ever, and no one is listening to each other. Everyone's just throwing rocks at each other. And as Bitcoiners, we can agree that there is no political solution to this, and the only way to get more Bitcoiners to become Bitcoiners is speaking their language. It's whether it's gaming, whether it's the progressive case of Bitcoin, whether it's using words that, as we always say, using inclusive framing and creating more Bitcoiners by getting Bitcoin into their hands. The game is, as we say, winning the hearts and minds of the masses. We are in a narrative trench warfare, and it's all about storytelling, and everyone resonates to a different story. The one thing that I fell in love with Bitcoin is not the same reason that you fell in love with Bitcoin, yes. But we can all agree on the same thing. Fix the money, and your life will get better, and everything else will follow that point. And it's just understanding that, hey, maybe by using, for instance, I say it all the time, maybe when you're having these conversations with your friends, don't use the B word because it instantly closes people's minds. Yes. And you plant the ideas of Bitcoin, of freedom, of, inclusivity, of permissionless, of not being debased, hard cap money. And then you eventually kind of like, well, I have this thing for you. It's called Bitcoin. They're like, oh, no, I don't want Bitcoin. And it's like, okay, let me separate Bitcoin from shitcoins. And you already believe what I believe. Now, let me just kind of, again, here's the normie or the normal person. Here's the Bitcoiner, the Overton windows in here. And it's all about, as we say all the time, boiling the frog, but like in a good way. Instead of like stealing everything from them, you got to slowly walk them into what you believe. Because again, like Jason said, I fundamentally believe that most humans want to do good. They think they know what's best. And yet there is a lot of misinformation, even to use those words. And I just believe Bitcoiners are right. And we have the best message and we have the best money. And if I'm being honest with myself, we're really bad at marketing because everyone should be loving Bitcoin.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, that's true. We're really bad at marketing.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like people in the Bitcoin space are passionate and they love what they're doing. But there is an entire world outside of that gate right there that does not give a shit about what we're doing in here. And we need to like open our eyes to that. We really need to get people on board. And it's not going to happen by like raging on Twitter or calling people names. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
You can't just yell Bitcoin and expect people to get it. You have to meet them where they're at. We use this all the time. Meet the customer where they're at. Like they need to, like if they value If they value censorship resistance, explain to them that. But most people aren't even aware of the concept. So meet them where they're at, show them the value that you believe they will see in Bitcoin, and then bring them on board and then sell them into Bitcoin, right? But meet them where they're at. We use this all the time at ZEBEDEE. So.
Andres, I say it all the time on the show. I read it once in How to Win Friends and Influence by Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
And it's bait the hook for the fish you're trying to catch. Like, I always think about this. And look, guys, I don't know about you, but if someone yells at me and calls me an idiot and a retard, excuse me, sorry, bad names, I'm like instantly like, I don't care what you're saying, even if you're right, I'm going to be stubborn and ignore everything you're saying. Like, look at yourself in the mirror sometimes and realize that maybe the way that our message is coming across isn't the best.
And this is why, what Andre, what you're doing from a gaming perspective, and then Jason, what you're doing from, the progressive angle is so important, because you really have to change the angle of approach depending on the person. And this applies to all you guys, right? Because the revolution isn't just about, us on stage, it's about all of us, right? So ask yourself not what Bitcoin could do for you, but what you could do for Bitcoin. Ask yourself how you could influence the people around you to adopt Bitcoin. Don't get distracted by the left and right dichotomy. In my opinion, it's a distraction from what's really going on. The racket of fiat money, every time they print money, it's a wealth redistribution mechanism from the lower and middle classes that don't have the means to save in assets back to the wealthy and back to the government, right? So if you want to present someone with a solution, don't attack their politics. All you have to do is you get them to take the orange pill. And the moment they take the orange pill, remember Kaiser's famous quote, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. And that's how we win. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much. This was Simply Bitcoin Live.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, hi. Do you have your ticket to the next Pacific Bitcoin Festival? Join us as we shine a light on the best of Bitcoin and Bitcoiners. Visit pacificbitcoin.com for the best deal on tickets now.